Nun bet Amud Bet, by the two dots and a little bit above the middle of the page. Tanu Rabbanan. Bet Shammai Omrim Mekaneach. So we said Bet Shammai Omrim Mekaneach Yadav B'mapa Umanicha Al HaShulchan. Bet Shammai say you should take the cloth that you use to wipe and put it on the table. She'im ata omer ala keset, because if you're going to say put it on the seat, on this pillow that they used to sit on, gzera shema itmu mashkin shebamapa mechemat hakoset, because maybe the napkin that you use to wash your hands is going to get tumah from the chair. Ve'achzor ve'itmu et hayadayim, and since you use it to wash your hands during the meal, meaning you use it to wipe your hands, and it became tameh from the chair, then now it's going to make your hands tameh. Venitmu keset la mapa. Maybe it's going to make the chair. Maybe the chair will make the mapa dirt to tameh without water, meaning without any liquid. And kli metame kli. No, kli can metame kli without water. Venitmu keset legavra. Maybe it's going to make the person himself tameh. And kli metame adam. No, a kli can be metame a person. Ubet Hillel omrim ala keset. You should put it on the table, on the couch, on the pillow. She'im ata omer ala shulchan, because if you're going to say on the table, gzera shema yitmu mashkin shebamapa mechemat shulchan, because maybe the table was tameh, and now the napkin that you put on it is going to become tameh from the table. Ve'achzor ve'itmu et ha'ochalin, and it's going to make my food tameh. Ve'litma shulchan le'ochalin shebetocho, and maybe the table should make the food itself tameh without anything involved. Hacha b'shulchan sheni askina. No, we're dealing with the shulchan that has a secondary tuma. Ve'en sheni oseh shlishi bechulin, and a sheni can make shlishi chulin ela al yedei mashkin. It can't make it tameh unless there was a liquid involved. B'maika b'fligi. So what's the machloket? Bet Shammai savri asur leishtamesh b'shulchan sheni. Bet Shammai hold you're never allowed to use a shulchan that has a secondary tuma. Why? Gzera shema ochlei tuma, because you're not allowed to eat Tuma on the shulchan, because the Tuma will become tameh. Ubet Hillel savri lo, mutar leishtamesh b'shulchan sheni. You are allowed to use a shulchan sheni that has a secondary Tuma. Why? Because ochlei Tuma zrizinem. Because I know I'm not allowed to eat Tuma on this table that has Tuma on it, and therefore I'm always going to be careful and be more concerned to never eat Tuma on a shulchan that could have safek, even safek Tuma. דבר אחר, אין נטילת ידיים לחולים מן התורה, we're going to see what that means. מהי דבר אחר? הכי כאמר לו בית הלל לבית שמאי. This is what בית הלל said to בית שמאי. וכי תאמרו, מה ישנה גבי אוכלין דחשינן, ומה ישנה גבי ידיים דלא חשינן? Why am I חושש by the food, but I'm not חושש by the hands? אפילו הכי העדיפה. Even by that, what I said is better. Why? אין נטילת ידיים לחולים מן התורה. Because נטילת ידיים, there is no problem of חולים מן התורה. מוטב שיתמו ידיים דלת לו עיקר מדאורייתא, better that my hands become tameh, ואל יתמו אוכלים דאית לו עיקר מדאורייתא. So it's better that my hands become tameh. Why? Because tuma on the hands is only midirabanan, rather than my food becoming tameh. Because if you said to put it on the table is much closer to the food, and if my napkin touches my food, it makes the whole food tameh, and food becoming tameh is midoraita. So it's better that I put it on this couch, on this pillow, and it makes this tameh, and it'll make my hands tameh. It's better that my hands become tameh rather than the food becoming tameh, because food becoming tameh is doraita. מה שאלת?
והידיים לא יכולים להעביר תומה לאוכל, לא מבין.
לא, הוא אוכל עם משהו אחר, הוא אוכל עם משהו.
אז אותו דבר.
הוא said אין שני עושה שלישי, now it's already
נכון, אבל הידיים שלך רטובים אבל.
מה, הידיים שלי רטובים? לא רטובים. הרטיבות מהמפה לזה עשה את הידיים שלי טמא, אבל הידיים שלי יבשות. It's another. There's a middle thing. Here it's on the table. Sean, that also answers your question. You said, what if they eat with their hands also? So I think because it goes from the couch to this, from this to my hands. From my hands is already too far. We said en sheni oseh shlishi betuma bli mayim. So it's too far apart. It's too far apart from making my food tameh. Even if my hands are tameh now. Since my hands are tameh and they're still dry, it can't make the food tameh. That's what I think. Could be a reason. But they said don't do it on the table, because on the table it's right next to the food. So if this is wet and it touches the food, it's automatically going to make my food tameh. we'll answer that question.
Yeah.
Bet Shammai mechabdin. We said Bet Shammai say first do mayim achonim. Bet Shammai omrim. Sorry, first clean the table and then do mayim achonim and birkat hamazon. So תנו רבנן, Bet Shammai mechabdin את הבית ואחר כך נותנים לידיים. Bet Shammai first clean the table and then they do מים אחרונים and ברכת המזון. Why? שאם אתה אומר נותנים לידיים תחילה, because if you're going to say they're going to do מים אחרונים first, נמצא אתה מפסיד את האוכלים, because maybe you're going to ruin the food. So since they said clean the table, נכון? First, why? In order for you not to spill מים אחרונים on the table and ruin the bread. אבל נטילת לבית שמאי, תחילה לא סבירה לו, מה הייתה מה משום פירורים? Why? Because of פירורים. Because maybe there's going to be pieces of bread on the table and it's going to ruin it. ובתילל אומרים, לא. שמש, אם שמש תלמיד חכם הוא, if you have a שמש who's a תלמיד חכם, נוטל פירורים שיש בהן כזית, he's going to pick up all the pieces of bread that have a שיעור of a כזית, ומניח פירורים שאין בהן כזית, and he's going to leave all the ones that have less than a כזית on the table. מסיע לרבי יוחנן, that's a support to what רבי יוחנן said. דאמר רבי יוחנן, פירורים שאין בהן כזית, pieces of bread that have less than a kezait, mutar le'avdan beyad. You're allowed to ruin them, meaning you're allowed to spill water on them. You're allowed to leave them on the table, and if they get ruined, it's no problem. So b'mai kamifligi. So what's their machloket? Bet Hillel savri asur l'ishtamesh b'shamat am haaretz. Bet Shammai hold you're never allowed to use a shamash who's an am haaretz, and therefore, since he's never allowed to have a shamash am haaretz, he's never going to leave pieces of bread that are more than a kezait, and therefore you have no chashash. You have no problem to do mayim achonim on the table because even if there's pieces less, it's no problem. And therefore you're allowed to do mayim achonim and birkat hamazon first. So that's why they say do mayim achonim and birkat hamazon first and then clean the table. Ubet Shammai savri lo mutar lishtamesh b'shamash ha'aretz. You are allowed to use a shamash who's a abal. Amar Rav Yossi bar Chanina Amar Avuna bekulu mutar lishtamesh b'shamash ha'aretz. So let me explain that part. And since you are allowed to Bet Shammai is allowed to use a shamash ha'aretz who's an abal, he's not going to pick up all the pieces of bread that are more than a kezait. And therefore, if you do mayim achonim and you spill, you're going to spill on pieces of bread that might be more than a kezait because he doesn't know halachot and he might leave the pieces of bread. So therefore, according to them, no, take off all the pieces of bread that are more than a kezait yourself because the shamash isn't going to do it for you. He doesn't know the halachot. Amar Rav Yossi bar Chanina Amar Rav Huna bekula parkin halacha kebet Hillel. Rav Yossi bar Chanina says in the name of Rav Huna, this whole perek, every time we said halacha, everything is halacha kebet Hillel. Bar mehat de halacha kebet Shammai, except for here, that over here, halacha is kebet Shammai. Rabbi Yoshia matni ipcha, he says no, switch the opinions even here. Ubehanami, and even here, halacha kebet Hillel. Even here, halacha is like bet Hillel. Next topic, Bet Shammai omrim ner umazon. Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda ikra Rabbi Rava. He came into the house of Rava. Chazal Rava debarich besamim bareisha. And he saw Rava blessing on the besamim first. Amar le michdi Bet Shammai uBet Hillel. Amar lo pligi. They themselves on the ner don't even argue. The Tanya Bet Shammai omrim ner umazon besamim v'avdala. They say ner umazon besamim v'avdala. uBet Hillel say no, ner besamim mazon v'avdala. But they both start with what? Ner. They both start with the flame. Ani Rava answered, Batrei, Zod divrei Rabbi Meir. You're right. That's in accordance to the opinion of Rabbi Meir. אבל רבי יהודה אומר לא נחלקו בית שמאי ובית הלל על המזון שהוא בתחילה ועל ההבדלה שהיא בסוף. They say, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the machloket isn't whether birkat hamazon is first or havdalah is last. The only machloket is על מה נחלקו, על המאור ועל הבשמים, on the flame and on the בשמים. שבית שמאי אומרים על המאור ואחר כך בשמים. בית שמאי hold first you bless on the flame and then the בשמים. ובית הלל אומרים לא, בשמים ואחר כך מאור. First the בשמים and then the fire. ואמר רבי יוחנן, נהגו העם כבית הלל ואליבא דרבי יהודה. And we go in accordance to the words of Rabbi Yehuda who says that they don't argue on mazon and havdalah, rather they only argue on the middle part, which is ner u besamim or besamim u ner. Bet Shammai omrim shebara. Bet Shammai omrim shebara me'or ha'esh. Amar Rava bebara kule al melo pligi debara mashma. No one argues that when Bet Shammai holds bara, it's referring to past tense, to the past. Ki pligi bebore. They're arguing on bore. Bet Shammai savri u borer. Bore da'atid lemivra. Bore is referring to future tense, according to Bet Shammai. Bet Hillel savri, no, bore nami debara mashma. Bore also refers to past tense. Don't tell me it refers to future. Mativ Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef brings the support. Yotzer or uvore choshech. It says Yotzer or uvore, and Hashem created the darkness. So that's past tense. Yotzer arim uvore ruach, and Hashem created the winds. Borei hashamayim v'notehem. All these are referring to the words borei, and we see they're all referring to past tense. And Amar Rav Yosef, rather Rav Yosef says, bebara uborei, rather by borei, bara, which is Bet Shammai, borei, which is Bet Hillel, kule'al melo pligi debara mashma, that it's referring to past tense. So what's their machloketan if they both agree that both the words are referring to past? Ki pligi b'ma'or u'meoreh. They're arguing on ma'or or meoreh. Ma'or is according to Bet Shammai, which is singular tense, singular. Meoreh is referring to Bet Hillel, which is referring to plural. The Bet Shammai savri chada nehura ika benura, because Bet Shammai hold that the flame has one color. That's why they say me'or hayesh, because it's the light of the fire. Ubet Hillel savri tuva nehura ika benura. There's three colors in the fire. Meaning there's more than one. So that's why they say borei me'oreh hayesh, the light of the fire, the lights of the fire. Since there's multiple lights in the flame, therefore we say the me'oreh. We use a plural statement. Tanya namihachi. We see the same thing in the Braita. Amud Hayomi Bet Hillel Bet Shammai. We see where the Bet Hillel told Bet Shammai, Harbe meorot yesh ba'or. There's a lot of colors in the fire. Therefore, say meoreh hayesh. En mevachin. We said en mevachin al besamim or on a ner shel akum shel agoy. Bishlam aner mishum delo shavat. Makes sense that we shouldn't bless on a fire because it didn't get rest. Ve'ela besamim maitamalo. But how come besamim we don't bless on? Amarav Yehuda, Amarav, Hacha b'masevet ovdei kochavim askinan. We're dealing with a meal of people who are ovdei avodah zara. Mipnei shestam masevet avodah zara, because a regular meal of people that do avodah zara, ovdei kochavim la'avodah zara, because regular people that are ovdei kochavim is a meal for avodah zara. Ha mediktani seifa en mevachim, but the seifa of the Mishnah said en mevachim lo ala ner v'lo ala besamim shel avodah zara. It said that we don't bless on the fire on the besamim of people who do avodah zara. Michlal de reisha lav be'avodah zara skinan. So therefore, in the reisha, it shouldn't be dealing with avodah zara. It can mean the same thing. So what does it mean? Amar Chanina mesura ma tam ki amar ma tam en mevachim lo ala ner v'lo al besamim shel akum. So what's the reason that we don't bless or on the ner or of the besamim of a goy? Mipnei shestam masevet ovdei kochavim la'avodah zara. We see the same answer because a regular meal of a goy is for a meal of avodah zara. Tanu Rabbanan, or sheshavat mevachin alav v'shelo shavat en mevachin alav. We said a light that rested, you are blessing on it, but one that didn't get rest, you don't bless on it. Umay lo shavat. What does it mean when it says it didn't get rest? Inami, if you're going to say lo shavat mechemat menecha, that it didn't get rest from doing melacha, afilu melacha dehetera. Does that mean even melacha that's permissible? Does that mean so even permissible melacha I wouldn't be able to bless on it? How could you say such a thing? V'atanya, we see in the Baita, or shel chaya, or of a lady who just gave birth, v'shel chole, or of a sick person, mevachin alav, you are blessing on it. Why? Because it's something that has to do, meaning you're allowed to use that. You're allowed to use those are melacha that's allowed, that has a heter on it. Amar Rav Nachman, Bar Yitzchak, Mai Shavat. So what does it mean when it said Shavat? Shavat mechemat menecha avera. So when we said you're not allowed to bless on a flame that rested, it means a flame that rested from doing avera, not a flame that rested from doing dvarim that have heter, because we see that dvarim, a flame that was used for dvarim that have heter, like a sick person, you are allowed to bless on it. Tanya Namihachi, we see the same thing, the similar concept in a Braita. Ashishit, a lantern, shaita doleket v'olechet kol hayom kulo, that was used on Shabbat, meaning from before Shabbat. Lemotzei Shabbat, even on Motzei Shabbat, mevachin ale, you are allowed to bless on it.